General, there's very little understanding in the U.S. of where things stand at the moment. You don't even have all your troops under the surge out on the ground. Can you give us a sense, try and help people understand back home of where things stand now for you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And it's a great question, because there's a sense that because declarations were made, or an operation was named or something like that, that it's already in full swing. And the fact is that we're still a couple weeks away from having all of our forces in their areas of responsibility. The fifth of the surge brigades is just moving into its area now. The Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is coming to Anbar Province, same thing. Combat Aviation Brigade also getting on the ground. So in about 2 weeks or so, we'll have all of the forces for the surge, all the combat forces on the ground, and you're going to see the launch of a number of different operations in a number of areas to go after Al-Qaeda and other extremist elements.
What are the indicators that you're looking at the moment in Baghdad that tell you which direction things are going in?
Well, in Baghdad, we certainly watch sectarian violence, if you will. There's a certain category of sectarian murders and executions that is a pretty key indicator. That had come down pretty substantially even before all the forces were into their areas. It had come down by about 2/3 from the height in January to April, and then May it came back up to about a half of the level in January, and that's a concern to us, obviously, because it indicates, again, that the cycle of violence resumed in certain areas, and we know where they are. It's very obvious.
So what can you say to American people who automatically assume that a surge in troops means a more secure Baghdad, means fewer U.S. casualties and not more?
Well, what all of the commanders on the ground have said repeatedly is that this is going to be harder before it gets easier. You have to retake the sanctuaries. You have to regain control of the Baghdad belts. In some cases, you have to regain control of certain neighborhoods and other areas throughout Iraq.
How has the end state, the desired end state, changed from what we were trying to achieve before to what we're striving for now?
I'm not sure that it has changed dramatically. I think that everyone is still trying to help Iraq achieve what's in their constitution, which is one Iraq, representative government that is responsive to the people, that of course recognizes the rights of its people, serves all Iraqis, can defend itself, and is an ally in the war on terror.
How concerned are you, though, at this point, that the political piece of this is not going to be there for you?
Oh, I'm concerned. Again, this is what we're about. This is why we're doing this. We can do so much, and then it clearly is up to the Iraqis to make the most of the opportunity that our soldiers and their soldiers and police are fighting, and in some cases dying for.
With your time on the ground, are you more and more concerned?
I don't know that I'd change that. I mean, I think that when I came back and initially saw what the sectarian violence had done, that was a bit of a taste of reality, or a vision of reality, if you will, because there were certain neighborhoods that when I'd left 16 months earlier were vibrant, active communities and mohallas, as they say, shops all booming and so forth. And to see that on return back in mid-February was a bit of a dash of cold water. Having said that, some of those communities have actually come back. I mean, there are a few that we watch as sort of canaries in the mine shaft. Dora is one. It's not all the way back by any means, but 230 shops are open where there were virtually none back again in mid-February. And there are others. Ghazaliya we watch, and then we watch some of these really vibrant communities on the eastern side, Rasafa, the Jadriya market, the Sharjah market, and those others that have just been booming ever since we closed them off with cement after they were bombed before the beginning of the Baghdad security plan.
Walls that you put around markets, though, or communities are just temporary solutions. I understand that they buy you time, but without sort of sustained, visible reform in the security services and in the institutions that support them and the government that supports them, isn't all of this, to a degree, temporary?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, our presence is temporary at some point. I mean, I'm not going to now predict when forces will come down or something like that, but obviously we are not going to stay here forever, and obviously we're going to have to come down over some point, and at some point in time. So you're absolutely right. At some point, what has been accomplished by our presence and by walls and by other so-called population control measures has to be built on by security sector reform, by non-sectarian security force members who act in the good of all Iraqis, observance of the law, and so forth.
As much as your forces are doing everything they can, we're still inundated by Iraqi people every day who say their lives are worse and worse. I mean, even in a neighborhood like Harada, which is relatively peaceful compared to other parts of Baghdad, at private hospitals, there's no power through the night. Even with their generators, they don't have the money to keep the generators going. There's no water in many of the private hospitals. I mean, what do you say to Iraqi people who are still flooding the borders as much as they can and who are increasingly desperate? I mean, I encounter people every day who are increasingly desperate.
Sure. I would say to them, put pressure on your government to reconcile among the different elements of Iraq so that everyone feels that they are represented in this government, and we can all turn against al-Qaeda and just focus on killing the outsiders, if you will, and there are at least those who are led by outsiders, al-Qaeda, and the foreign fighters who come in and are the bulk of those who blow themselves up, and repair the infrastructure and make way together. You cannot pursue a zero-sum approach to life and have all people taken care of, and that's obviously one of the challenges in this society.